Hi there folks, my name's NovaWing24 and welcome to another little review of an FSX product. So today we are having a look at Kilimanjaro International Airport from Aerosoft, available for FSX Steam Edition. So we are looking at the Steam Edition version of this add-on today, and I want to say thank you very much to the wonderful guys over at Dovetail Games for supplying the review copy of this airport add-on. Now, I'm going to do what I love to do when I do airports. I love to go for a drive around the airport and, show off some of the features that are often sort of missed and things like that before we actually go for an orbit and get the bird's eye view, as it were, of the airport. But I wanted to point this out. Now, this is the entrance to the airport. So the airport and its surrounds are all modelled, including the stretch of the highway leading into the airport. But I want to point this out. Now, my Swahili's a little rusty, but if I get this correctly, it roughly translates to a dove's tail. Does it start or does it end? A dove's tail starts or ends. Now, I don't know whether this is just in the Steam Edition version of this add-on, or whether this is legitimately the sign that's above the start of the airport. I couldn't find any reference photos. I really looked for them. I could not find one. So I'm gonna have to trust either someone who's actually been here. Unfortunately, I never made it to Kilimanjaro Airport. I went into Tanzania, but I was further to the north. So I'm gonna have to trust someone who's been here and tell me, is this actually the sign there or not? Because if it's not, and this is... what if this is a subtle comment towards Dovetail? I don't know. Interesting. Random. Anyway, alright, on with the review. Alright, okay, let's go through the security here. Unfortunately the gates don't move, so we are going to have to take out the gate as we go through. Just driving through, don't mind as the gate decapitates us, all good, there we go, okay. So, the airport is really well modelled, by the guys, as I said, by the guys over at Aerosoft. So we've got the main terminal is done, the freight handling terminal is also done, so you can see that over there in the distance over there, and we'll go for a visit there shortly as well. And some of the service hangars are also displayed as well, so yeah, it's quite well done. Orangutan, power to the jungle. I'm assuming that's at least something close to you. I'm guessing possibly with that, maybe not. But you never know. Again, and not having actually been there myself. So we've got the departures terminal here. And all the vehicles and whatever here. And then we're going to go for a left here. We're going to go airside in just a moment. As you can see here, the buildings are quite well modelled, complete with the traffic terminals there as well, along with all the associated vehicles, as we saw, all of the cabs and taxis and stuff like that. Complete with the fuel and services farm as well. We're going to go visit, we're going to see that over here before we turn onto the apron and have a look at some of the airside traffic. Yeah, that starting side has really got me thinking. It really does now. It really does now. I'd love to have an answer. Maybe for some of the guys from Aerosoft can let us know what was the purpose of that. But anyway, so we've got the fuel farm there, and then we've got the main freight handling terminals, or the GA terminals over here, and the freight handling stuff as well. Go through, and then we'll cross over airside in just a moment. So you got let's say you got the freight and the GA parking area there. I'll go past some of the services buildings. So the airports, most of the airside services are managed by a company called Passport. I believe a competitor is Swissport. Got a Follow Me truck there, very highly decorated. And one of the cool things as well is that we've got you got like the animated trucks and airport vehicles here as well. So it is a living airport. It does have a few baggage vehicles and catering vehicles and the like moving around at the airport at various times, so sort of like automated schedules. So I don't think he was quite reaching the controls there. So yeah, we've got all the animated vehicles and stuff like that, and that's rather random. We seem to have a guy just levitating. Possibly supposed to be a missing model there, I think, somehow. Yes, possibly. That's rather odd. But yeah, so you've got the terminal, we've got all the airside sort of services here that we come to expect. Now, Kilimanjaro International Airport is known as the gateway to Africa's wildlife heritage, as it serves quite a lot of the tourist trade heading into going on to game safaris and game reserves, and a lot of the tourism, as well as also being a very important destination for movement of freight. So the areas around here is a very centralized location for a lot of people coming through, and a lot of industries going through, including both primary producers, so foodstuffs, cash crops, and animal husbandry and things like that, and all those kind of exports. But beyond that, it's also very important as well for terms of the gemstone and mining as well. So quite a lot of traffic comes through in terms of international investors, as well as actually transporting raw materials in and out of the area as well. So we've got the detail levels of the customs building there as well, and some of the land preservation, and some of the wildlife preserve vehicles there as well. Some of which are parked out the back. And of course we've got the massive maintenance and freight hangar here with the big Tanzanian badge there on the side. So yeah, it's always nice. As I said, I always like to explore these vehicles so we can see some of these things up close and personal before we start looking at going through the airport view as well. And just do a quick little skid just in here. We'll scoot around. Unfortunately, the Viper for FSX doesn't do skids. Otherwise, that'd be kind of cool if it did. Anyway, alright, so now that we've had this quick little look around the airport, that's kind of cool. Again, I always like showing off the little things that add a lot of life to an airport. A little odd with those couple of random people just sort of elevated in the middle of the airport there, and there's just bit of that's a bit odd, and I feel like maybe there was a missing texture or something, or missing model or something that didn't get put through into this version. But anyway, alright, so now that we've had our little tour around there, we'll switch over to an aircraft, and we shall get on board, and we shall fly and give a little aerial view of the airfield. Alrighty, so here we are. We're going to be doing this little tour in the Jabiru J160 today. We're going to taxi out onto the runway, do a takeoff, and we're going to do a few orbits so we can see all the terrain that's actually covered by the add-on as we get to explore, and you'll be able to see hopefully be able to see the majestic beauty of Mount Kilimanjaro in the background as well. So as we're taxiing down, a little bit of history of the airport as well. So it was opened back in the 1970s, and was immediately given its its colloquial, or its sort of catchphrase of being the gateway to Africa's natural heritage. It was pretty much given that straight away, and then was a state-run airfield for many years until it was privatised. One of the first airports in Africa to be privatised. In the late 80s, and that was then since then it's been looked after by the Tanzania Airport Development Corporation, and they've sort of continued to manage it and maintain it since then. And interesting enough, it's currently undergoing a fairly huge upgrade and modernisation program. So a deal was signed in February 2014 between the government of Tanzania, the Development Corporation, and the government of the Netherlands to actually rehabilitate and expand the airport and improve its facilities and make it an even more capable airfield than it currently is. Currently that's sort of in its sort of first stages. The planning phases have completed, and it's that project's due for completion sometime around about 2016, between 2016 and 2018. So it's a fairly long process, but one that is seems to be paying off for developers at the moment. So yeah, they got the very distinctive tower and the beautiful surrounds of the airfield there. Alright, so as we can see, it's a really easy on frames is one thing I've noticed with this airfield as well, is that there's a lot of detail in here, and yet they've managed to, the guys over at Aerosoft have managed to keep it so that it doesn't It's not nasty. It doesn't, you know, skip frames or anything like that. It keeps itself very, very optimal and looks quite impressive, with yeah, minimal sort of flashing and sort of issues coming through on the scenery, which is always a nice change to have with some of the... Don't get me wrong, I love Orbix to do some amazing scenery, but their stuff is so resource intensive sometimes that it's just like, ugh, am I going to have to do, you know, something else? Whereas something like this one is just, it's very, very resource light, but still manages to be a very, very impressive add-on. So, well, at least so far it has been. So we're going to keep taxiing down here, and eventually we'll get to a runway and we'll take off. We'll probably just do a mid-field takeoff. Don't think we'll need the whole field, because the airfield here is one of the largest in the region. It's fully capable of supporting your sort of heavy, your very passenger and your cargo heavies. In fact, the US President visited here a few years ago, and Air Force One and its entourage of C-5 Galaxies all turned up at the airfield with all their various bits and bobs. So yes, very much capable of doing that, as well as regular cargo operations for the area sort of supplied by from aircraft such as the Antonov AN-124, the behemoths of the skies. So yeah, that's a bit of a feather in the cap, as it were, of the airfield here. Alright, we're going to turn down here before we turn back out onto the runway. And we're going to have a slight crosswind, I think, as we take off here, but that'll be alright. As I said, we really won't need much of the runway with this beautiful little Jabiru. Funny enough, the colours of this aircraft, it's almost home to this area. It's one of the repaints that come with it for Cape Town Flight Training School, so there you go. Alright. And off we go. It wouldn't need much of that runway. So you can see it's the terrain that's covered by the add-on is quite extensive. Bit abrupt where it sort of finishes off though. It's, you know, it doesn't blend too well into the surrounding terrain, which is a bit of a shame. But you can also see in some ways, yeah, where it does cover off quite nicely, and it does give you that little bit of extra detail as well. So here's quite a long runway. We've got a bit of a low fog coming through here. Nice rain off there. And of course the usual, you know, it's just sort of matching a bit of photo real with surroundings, with surrounding actual polygons as well. And it's funny, it's when you see some of that flickering is often where you see the edges of between photo real and like a scenery add-on. That's often what you actually get. Sometimes you get that sort of fractured artificing going through. It's a bit of a shame, but it's actually one of those things that happens when you've got layers of scenery coming through. Unfortunately, it looks like due to the weather, we're not going to be able to see the beautiful Mount Kilimanjaro, which would be just off there for us if it was. But, oh well, we shall enjoy the airfield anyway. So as you can see, it is quite expensive and quite well done in terms of the fact that it does have the airport and its surroundings with all the major buildings covered as well. As you can see there, we've got the ground handling operations, your cargo stuff there. Terminals with all their buildings there as well. So yeah, it's really good to see that you get a nice coverage of the airfield and all its different little add-ons, bits and bobs here as well. I think possibly again, small picky thing, but you know, these buildings are represented in the photo reel. It would have been nice if there'd been a 3D, you know, model placed on there as well. That would have been nice. They've included it as part of the photo reel, so it would have been nice if they'd included that as part of the add-on scenery as well. But yeah, small things. So here we got the all the VNAV, the VORs for the area there. I said overall it's a really nice sort of setup, and it does make it quite clear, and it does capture the essence of the airport by giving you that sort of, you know, it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's still an important destination and a gateway destination, including giving you some of the buildings on the outside, on the fringes of the airport as well, some of the warehousing there. So yeah, I think overall it's a pretty good add-on. Gives you that nice sort of balance between between your photo reel and your 3D buildings. I think they possibly could have done a little bit more 3D buildings and maybe sort of paid a little bit more attention to some of the other things that are going on at the airfield as well. That would have been nice as well, but yeah, it's small things. Overall, it's a very high quality airport, and definitely one that if you want to have somewhere different to go and explore, definitely something to consider as well. Probably the one thing to note is that it does not match well with Orbix, as we just sort of come into landing here. So yeah, it doesn't play well with Orbix as much as I would like it to. Some of the borders and stuff doesn't go so well, and doesn't mesh too well with the Orbix Global and FTX Global and FTX Vector. But that would be something maybe that, you know, Aerosoft might want to consider maybe releasing as a patch for it to make sure, you know, to blend it better, or possibly maybe Orbix should maybe get their stuff more accurate. I don't know. We shall see. Alright, just floating it down. There we go, and down. And there we are, and down. So, nice little finish to our little venture around the airport here. So, yeah, check out the weather, but you know, we've got storms in Africa, as it were, as the old song goes. Alright, so overall final thoughts. Well, you know what? I think this is a pretty decent add-on to get. It's really nice to see add-ons of airports that are further and, like, you know, are off in the distance kind of thing, and something that you wouldn't normally think to go to. You're like, I wouldn't normally have flown to Tanzania except with this add-on, and it's a really well done, well modeled add-on for this one, and it gives you, definitely captures that feeling of the airport and actually makes it look like, I've compared it to photos of the real thing, and yeah, the guys at Aerosoft have done really well, so I have to commend them for that. So folks, overall I think it's a very positive add-on. It's very great, very easy on the frames, doesn't it won't impinge your performance very much, and it just looks absolutely spectacular. Really well done for the guys over at Aerosoft. So there you go, that's something, definitely something you want to consider adding to your collection, especially if you want to explore the world, you know, the wider world outside of the US and like European, and they're all the popular destinations. Alright folks, well this is just about going to wrap up the review for this one today. I just want to say once again thank you very much to the wonderful guys over at Dovetail Games for supplying the review copy of this little add-on here today. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying it and do want to see more reviews on the channel. And as always, don't forget that you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter. Just search NovaWing24. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. So, just throw it out there. I couldn't resist. I had to show you guys the shot of Mount Kilimanjaro in the background there. You know what? For that alone, this airport's worth it. Give you a place to go just to visit this beautiful scenery and terrain. Just saying. Just as an FYI. So this has been a bonus presentation from Nova Wing 24. Hope you've enjoyed it. Catch you folks.